such a beautiful day today. How's it going, everybody? It's Brother D back with another video. I apologize in advance. Right next to the highway here. It's almost about 6 p.m. my way. And I'm out here actually waiting on a couple of clients. We actually work out outside. And I'm gonna walk that way so you don't all have to hear this traffic. It's people just getting off work. You know, they're trying to get home. They're trying to, you know, get to their families and all that good stuff. This video was prompted by a real life situation that's actually occurring right now with somebody that I know. And if you're a parent out there, you could probably relate to this too if you have a teenager, because I also have a teenager. Started to title this video, Sex and Teenagers. Now, Brother D is very transparent. And I remember back in the day when I was a teenager, a long time ago, I was a freshman in high school, and I remember being outside waiting, you know, just hanging out with kids, and this girl, I never will forget, you know, she was talking to me and a couple of other people, and basically she was seeing somebody, you know, her boyfriend at the time. I'm gonna put this here. Seeing her boyfriend. Hopefully that's okay. And she said, you know, I tried to get my boyfriend to come over, and he was scared. He didn't want to come over. I was basically trying to make him out to be a man. So she was saying, you know, she wanted for him to come over so they can have sex together. And that would, quote unquote, give him the stamp of being a man. Because in this world that we live in, as a man, the more women you sleep with or girls you sleep with, the more your manly tank gets full. When you're young, of course, this is what you think to be true. This is what society teaches young men as well. But it's not until you get older, and I can't even speak for every man, but it's not until you get older that you realize that that's completely false. Let me say this, if you're a teenager out here watching this video, that having sex does not make you a man, nor does it make you a woman. And if you don't do it, it doesn't make you any less of a young man, and it doesn't make you any less of a young lady. Preserving your purity, your virginity, is something that is so sacred, and it's really missing in today's society. I remember growing up and people would actually make fun of you, like, wow, you haven't had sex yet, like, what are you waiting for? I'm one of those people, unfortunately, that fell into that trap as a teenager. I wish I hadn't did it, but I did. And now that I look back on it, I understand why it's so important for us to not do that as teenagers. There's no way we can really stop it from occurring, because it seems like the culture these days embraces that. They're like, hey, as long as you're doing it safe, who cares? Do what it is you want to do. Or like Aleister Crowley says, do wilt thou wilt. When that's not what we should be teaching our kids. That's not what we should be teaching the younger generation. All that does is create more and more broken homes. It creates more scenarios of single moms, which creates broken children who grow up without their fathers a lot of times, grow up in resentment, and then that cycle continues, and we see more and more broken people. There's a lot of adults in this world right now that are just broken, and they're messed up, all because of mistakes that were made, you know, back in the day. And A lot of it has to do with what is actually accepted in today's society as being okay, and what we are literally not teaching our kids. So I know somebody who has a son, and I'm not sure if he's sexually active, but he is extremely interested in sex. He's 16 years old, the same age as my son. And she was talking to me last week. She's like, D, I don't know what to do with my son. I don't know, because, I see he's dating girls. He's seeing other girls while he's dating this girl. He's sending pictures of himself. He's sending videos of himself. I don't know what to do with him. So I just want to say that, we can't police our children 100%. We can't. Our kids are going to mess up. It's inevitable. Let them make their mistakes, but let's also make sure that we as parents are doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as teaching them and educating them on the things in which they should and should not be doing. I feel that it's important for us as parents, and I'm speaking from a Christian perspective. Even if you're not a Christian, you can still apply these rules to an extent, making sure that there's a bridge between you and your child that's not broken, making sure that there's an invitation between you and your child that's available whenever they got questions. Make sure you and your kid are not distant, and that there's no trust issues, there's no awkwardness, and that if there's ever anything in which needs to come up in conversation, that you're available. If you don't have that type of relationship with your child, the chances of them really messing up are very, very high. Because understand that whatever you don't teach your kids, they're going to learn it on the streets. You cannot stop it. There's nothing you can do, because that is just the direction of the world. There's nothing we can do about it except get proactive and educate our kids as much as we can. So my advice to her was, you need to keep it real with your son. You need to tell him the consequences. You need to tell him the repercussions, the possibilities, and the life-changing events that can happen with premarital sex. And she's that type of person that's like, I don't want to embarrass him. I'm like, well, look, you're not his friend, you're his mother, and you need to teach your son, right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? Too many parents these days are so worried about what their kids think, when we really should be parenting and teaching them right from wrong, consequences, and not shying away from the things in which are already being talked about, by the way. They're talking about this stuff in the school. They're talking about this stuff after school. They're hearing it in the music. Their AirPods, you think it's innocent. I have a 16-year-old. Trust me, I've caught stuff on this phone. I made a video about this a couple of months ago. Go back and check it out. The first encounter in which I found, inappropriate stuff on my son's phone. And I had to talk to him about it. And me and him, we have that type of relationship where I leave the door open if he has questions. But I also make sure that I always give him biblical grounds as to why he should not be doing these things. Now, is that gonna stop him from doing these things? I don't know. Because if you think about it, it was a story of the prodigal son. That was a father who raised his kids the best way that they possibly could, and made sure that he worked so hard that he had an inheritance for his kids to give to him when his day of rest came. But the prodigal son still messed up. He still, made mistakes and went out into the world and did what he was going to do. But he always remembered his father's advice. He always remembered what his father told him. He always remembered that he could go home to his father, and he was just waiting with open arms. And when the time of trials was over with for the prodigal son, he came back home. because he remembered what his father taught him at the end of the day. So even if our kids do mess up, let us have grace on them. Let's not scold them. Let's not beat them. My mom has I can be transparent once again. My mother had me at a really, really early age, and, her parents were very, very strict, and they weren't loving at all when she made that mistake. That mistake ended up being me. Here we are today, hallelujah. But let's not be that way towards our kids. And in no way, don't think that I am condoning sexual activity. I'm not condoning premarital sex. I do not support it. I don't. I fully embrace waiting until you're getting married to do that. But if we're going to be realistic in this world, it's extremely tempting for teenagers. So we need to make sure that we are talking to our kids and not shying away, not hiding things, and just keeping it real with them and telling them, look, this is what happens when you do this. This is what happens when you do that. Please reconsider how you feel. Now, as far as controlling those hormones, there's only so much you can do to control those hormones, except for being honest with them. This is why you feel the way that you feel. And along with that, there comes responsibility. Because I do say, when you're a teenager, testosterone is really high for a young man. And, I'm sure the hormones in young girls are just as high. It happens. Come on, we're not going to act like we weren't in high school. We've all been there. We've all made mistakes. I'm pretty sure most of you who are watching this video have made some mistakes, possibly in your past. So we need to be protecting our kids by educating them and praying over them, ultimately. We can only shelter them for so long, but there's always going to be cracks. So let's make sure that we're doing all that we can do. Getting your kids in church, praying over your kids, establishing a relationship with your kids, protecting your kids, getting to know their friends, involving yourself with people in which they're involved with. And if your kids don't feel comfortable enough to involve you in the relationship with their friends, then they probably should not be friends with these individuals. So remember, they're still minors and we still have a say. So protect them as much as you can while you can. And I'm not saying that they're not going to mess up. They still may mess up. But if they do, then, hey, just know that you did everything that you possibly could. And they'll always remember what you told them. All right, brother, these got to go. Got to get ready to work. Love you all. If this is all new to you and this channel is new to you, please consider subscribing. Lots and lots of content coming. Love you. Peace.